Well, I'm sure the entertainment part will be a lot more interesting. But guys, I think there's been a lot of talk about structures, getting the industry organized. And, I think I want to develop a bit more on the intervention strategies that will, help develop our industry. So, first warning, structure is boring. So, it's very boring. Everyone wants to be a superstar. Guys, structure is boring. So, you will not see me singing on any stage. We do the boring bit, but guess what? The boring bit pays for the creative side. So, I think there's maybe a lot of emphasis on the creative side, and nobody's looking at what is boring but what is needed to pay the industry. So I think there's been a lot of talk around GDP contribution. We got some stats, 2.5%, about 9 trillion. So I think sometime last year we spoke with Deloitte, and as MultiChoice we said, let's try and do an impact study. Let's see what is the impact of all the commissioning, all the things we do in the market. And they came back to us and said, in 3 years, 1.5 trillion. These are the figures nobody sees. At 2.5%, we think maybe we're not doing anything, but I think we need to change that reasoning. The American contribution is 6%. However, it's about, $700 billion, so it's still a lot more. But I think there's a lot of potential, and I think the question is, how do we get this potential out? How can we continue to develop? Sorry, my clicker. Okay.
Larry.
Okay, so why do we need any intervention at all in this industry? We think the market as it is not developed. For you to buy and sell, you need a market. And I think the first thing we're talking about is how do we develop the market? Big market means there's more money in the market. And I think the challenge we have is everyone seems to be focused on himself. Nobody wants to sit in a room like this with other people and say, how do we collectively build something? And until we can sit down and collectively build. I told someone, when you hear the name Warner Brothers, remember, it just wasn't Warner. It was Warner Brothers. It was a few people. And now, if you look at the shareholding of that company, they are always happy to give a little bit out and get more people involved. So we need to move from just maybe you to partnerships. Quite a few people sitting around a table and working together. So we need to, develop, create jobs. These days, one of the biggest things we talk about is the dollar to naira exchange rate. So, and why is that a problem? We're not taking enough out of the country. We're bringing in. So I think this industry still gives us an opportunity to take something out. It's, in my opinion, maybe a bit too late for us to start importing factories and trying to put them up. Because importing factories means we're going to Germany or China to take technology from there to come and put it in here. We've got something we can take out from here. And I think what makes our entertainment industry what it is not what is out there. It's really our own culture and what we're doing from here. Okay, so I'm sure someone will help me with the clicker. So I think when we talk of challenges facing the industry, structure, the rest, capacity, skills, infrastructure, funding, distribution, these all are challenges. But if you ask me, I always go back to piracy. Guys, that's the first thing and that's the last thing. If you don't kill piracy, we can't grow the industry. If you don't protect intellectual property, you can't get investors to invest because, what What's your collateral? That should be your collateral, not the house. However, if they are not sure that this will stay within, and a lot of people have talked today about government support. I will not kill that story, but I'll tell you something. If you go through, there are a lot of laws in this country, so I don't think it's, at times, not that there are no laws, it's just how to uphold those laws. Our story, we've been in Nigeria, 23 years, okay? We have so many cases against people pirating and stealing intellectual property. In 23 years, we've got, I think, one conviction. Just one out of the several cases. So, oftentimes we look at piracy as that thing that affects our neighbor. When they come to you with some DVDs and you see it's R. Kelly, you think, well, he's American, maybe it's okay for me to buy the fake DVD. But guess what? The guy has your own DVD in his back pocket. As soon as the guys see that people want Nigerian content, they switch to it. So it's about us getting to a point where there is that general understanding that we need to kill that first if we can succeed. And there's no way one person can succeed against piracy. It's a collective effort from the industry. We would like to call the industry back together to talk about how we protect intellectual property. So there was also a talk about how can government intervene. So I wanted us to look at just a few case studies. So I'll take, for instance, Canada. We all know Canada, but we don't really know Canada as a big movie industry or big on content. So I chose Canada. I didn't want to see what they were doing in the US or anywhere like that. Now, Canada has a total of $1.6 billion in grants and funds in 1 year into the movie industry. They've got, and it's important to tell how these funds come in, because oftentimes when we start talking about funding, people think funding should be, you go to the bank, you take a loan, you make one movie, 6 months down the line, you have to pay back the loan. That is almost always a recipe for disaster. That is not how creativity works, okay? So in Canada, that money is either given to you to take 49% equity in your project or as a recoupable advance. So you have your choice. And that is why you have organizations as film houses, because you're going to have 3 movies, okay? And let's be real, you cannot make every movie and it becomes a hit and you make money from it. So that's why you have to spread your risk and try to do multiple projects. And to be able to do that, you have to come together, because it's not just one producer with one great idea and trying to do one movie in a year. It's a film house. So if you don't take that route, then just taking a loan and doing that one movie, you'll kill yourself trying to just make money to pay back for that one movie. South Africa gives you a 20% tax reduction on production expenditure for any foreign production that is done in South Africa. So they are so keen to get even foreigners to come in because they believe there's labor, there's a lot of things which you take out. So yes, I think we. So let's look at Nigeria, and Nigeria did something. $200 million in the entertainment grant, which is being loaned out to companies. But then I found this nice statistic that said Nigeria has given $3.3 billion in tax credits to the oil industry in the last 10 years. So I can just imagine if a fraction of that is put into the entertainment industry, where we can take it. We have a bit more control here in the entertainment industry than this oil, where we see the price go up, come down. Some people met last week. They couldn't have an agreement. Oil came down from $49 back to, I think, 39 or something after one meeting. So I think, yes, we have to push the government. We have to say what are the priorities. And if the priority is to grow the industry and actually to begin to find replacements for the problems we have, maybe the $3.3 billion in tax credits is going to the wrong place. But I think, whenever we talk about intervention, we talk about support, there's, we always go and spend a lot of time talking about the government. But I think the private sector is also very important. And what is holding us in the private industry, as I said earlier, is just collaboration. We are not yet talking to each other. We've tried, in the last, 23 years we've been around. I think the first problem we had was there needed to be a market. There was no market. If you made a movie, there was no one buying. There was nowhere to sell it. So whenever you create a market, so we started buying and we created one channel. And I mean, these days, there was a lot of talk earlier. If you have your music album, just, put it online. I think guys, it's fun, it's very easy now. When we took Nigerian music to the rest of Africa, I remember I was carrying VHS videotapes, literally getting on a flight with those videotapes, going to where we queue videos, either in Spain or somewhere in Johannesburg, putting those videos in and trying to get it. But, I mean, what has it done? You can travel around Africa today, and you hear Nigerian music everywhere. So it's a lot of what we've done, funding through commissioning, through buying, and we need people to come into the industry and try to do a bit more of that. I will always go back to Piracy, and when I talk Piracy, I always turn back to Tony Okoroji. I know it's been one of his own big battles, but it's not one person's battle. It's not Kosan, it's not anyone, it's every one of us. And it's something that collectively affects all of us, and we have to do something about it. So I thought maybe highlight a few of our successful collaborations when we've worked with the industry. First one is, we did New Direction. It's 10 years plus. But it's a project that we started on a very small scale. Get a few Nigerian directors together, produce some content with them, put it through a nice little project. I'm proud to say, if we look at Sound City, Tajuddin Adekbetu, I'm not sure he's around. He's one of those that did just one program on New Directions. Today, I think he has about 5 TV stations. That is what we've worked over the years. It's also very important. I'm sure a lot of our young people are out of here already. So that is one of the biggest challenges we have, patience. So they sat through a few, and then they walked away. They are not patient. Guys, this industry is patience, okay? As multi-choice in Nigeria, it's 23 years. It's not 2 years. And people tend to look at only success and refuse to look at the building block. So it started with 0 subscribers. You have to persevere. And to persevere means you probably have to sit here right to the end of the session and try to get FaceTime with someone who can help you. Okay? It's easier to say, I want to be a superstar. And I'm not throwing any barbs at the young man who wanted to be a superstar. But the reality is, we all can't be superstars. I don't know how many accountants we have, or we had in this morning session. Because if we don't have any accountants here, what are we going to do about the money? So we want intervention. Yeah, the government gives us $10 billion today. What is the structure that supports the fact that they'll want their money back someday? If we take it all and stick it in projects, what about the marketing bit? What about the different parts of it? We can't all be, the producers or the stars. And I think over the years, Africa Magic has probably bought over 15.5 billion in content, local. Let's imagine we have 10 other players spending that much. It's the size of the market. If the market doesn't grow, right from school, when we learned localization of industries, we learned a lot of that. We need to deepen the market. And where the government can help with infrastructure, capacity building will come from the industry. I was talking with Mr. Yeni, and I said, you know what, this is number 4, so maybe we'll forgive him for the one-day conference. Next year, it has to be 2 days. We need a lot of training. We need special workshops where young people who want to get into the industry can come, and we are not only going to teach them how to, become a star with your next album. We need some of the guys who will understand financing. We need people who will be lawyers, who will learn how and what contracts are. Why do you need to have a contract? We need people who will manage the stars, because that's also big. The way it works is, a lot of times you make it, a lot of money comes. If you don't manage, if you don't invest it, then it's gone. How do you make it sustainable? So I think that's a big one. Regulatory, I think, regulatory is very good. There were lots of arguments around it. I think the problem is over-regulation, and that's why the industry is still young. We need to be careful, not over-regulate it. Let's let the industry develop. There's also self-regulation, and I think that should be encouraged. People need to sit together and say, you know what, maybe this is not the story we want to project, but art imitates life. Guys, if the reality in Nigeria is a certain reality, we shouldn't think that the movie makers will make these nice glossy movies with the best roads, with no potholes, because that's what we want to sell in the US. It's not going to happen. Because when they are driving and shooting on the road, there will be a pothole. So let's accept it. If you've been to Rio in Brazil, they will always offer you a tour of the favelas. Now the favelas is, it's a very dangerous place. It's where Brazil doesn't want anyone to see, but they sell it. So there's nothing wrong if someone comes to Lagos for us to take him to Makoko. We might think it's a slum, but that is what, it's part of our spirit. People are living on sticks, on water. That's the beauty. And what we then need to do is, how do we put infrastructure there? If you've gone to a favela, you'll be shocked how the government, it's all on big hills with slums, but they've piped water up there for them now. And they had to do that because people were visiting just to see. They have armed policemen in there just to protect you when you go to visit. And that's what we need to think about. Tourism is not all about going to look at animals. I always tell my friends from East and Southern Africa that we don't have game reserve. We eat our own animals here. So it's not something we're going to sell. So if we think the next movie made here will show these lovely giraffes and lions, they're not available. They will have to go to Kenya to go and shoot that movie. And we don't want them to go out to shoot it. So I think let's accept what we have. That's what we need to sell. And I mean, we have a few awards that have come up. That's reward. Reward breeds quality. So now we're strong on reward and we'll continue to breed quality. Okay, I think it's time to diversify. We push exclusivity. Guys, for this industry to develop, we need everyone, or people to collaborate, but we also need people to do different things. We can't copy and make it. We have to develop exclusive. I mean, we need an animation studio. We need people who say, you know what, I'm exclusive, I'm going to do animation. That's what Pixar does. It's not everyone, and that's what happens with music too. You know, we're all not going to have the same beat. Timmy said it when he was up here earlier. He chose to sing in a different way. People told him, that's Oyibo's song. No go work. It's working. So we have to develop something exclusive to ourselves. And we have to tell new stories and find ways to tell old stories. I think when Kunle Afolayo did October 1st, we sat down with him and we said, you know what, we're launching Box Office, which allows you to rent a movie, to your Explorer decoder at home in convenience. And we told him, bring it, let's launch this with you. You go to the theaters, we'll put it in Explorer. We have had a lot of Hollywood hits on Box Office, but I can tell you the movie with the highest rental has been October 1st, a Nigerian movie. People all over the continent want to see our story. It's an original story. It talks about Nigeria. It doesn't try to mimic anyone. And I mean, there's the documentary guys. We seem to have forgotten the storytelling part of it. But that's another thing that takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of development. If we are in a hurry, we will drop our standards, we will kill the industry. So in as much as we want government to do so much, a lot of what we have to do it ourselves. Okay, so I think I alluded to this earlier. We need to think long term. It's not one album, it's not one movie, it's long term. Yes, you have to start with one. How do you make it a long-term story? And that moves you a lot of time from loans to equity. If you have the right structure, you get equity in. If it's a family business, nobody wants to buy equity. You have to structure it. And that's why we need the accountants, we need the lawyers, we need people who will teach us that structure that brings in the funding. Capacity building, I won't rub on that. It's been done today. We have to continue the workshops and teach people. Don't expect immediate returns, and we need, and we'll begin to see, I believe, cross continent collaborations. That's what is happening with Bollywood now, with a lot of Hollywood collaborations with Bollywood, and we need to continue to innovate and evolve. I mean, we have a DSTV now that almost just lets you, you're walking out of your house, you take your mobile and your favorite series goes around with you. Innovation is big in the industry and everyone needs to keep ahead. What technology has given us is an advantage to leapfrog. We don't have to go through the development phase everybody did. Okay, and I have my final slide, yeah? I saw this and I thought it was a good quote to end with. And I think it just says, first, they will ask why you do it. And then they will ask how you did it. Because if we look at where we're coming from, I mean, that was the question. Why are you putting stuff on a VHS? You don't have a proper distribution model. This is how it works in the other bit. The Americans do it this way. We have to develop our own model, and while we're doing it, everybody will ask us why. But I can assure you, in 10 years, they'll be asking us, how did you do it? So thanks, and the story behind that, I mean, MultiChoice is an African company, but it's a company that can compete anywhere in the world. We can go head to head with a Sky or anyone. We don't care that we are an African company developed in Africa by Africans. Thank you very much, guys.